Hey everybody, what's up? This is Devin LaVore and
Michelle LaVore
coming at you. The lovely Michelle LaVore coming at you. And that's where you say something nice about me in return.
Oh, yes, and the awesome Devin LaVore coming at you.
We'll work on that. Anyway, so yes, like the past couple days we've been talking about the mercy of God. It's been so heavy. And let me tell you something, it's only increased today.
Yeah.
It really has. And it's just God just sharing his heart with us. And it's just so interesting because you guys are familiar with for those of you who've been following our last couple of videos, you're familiar with the whole 222 phenomenon that's been happening in our lives. That has not rested at all either. But it's just interesting because when we got here, you know, it was just, there was something about, we feel like we're here in this hotel room 222, and it just seems it's like the cloud that followed, that it led Israel. Mm-hmm. It's just come to rest over this place. Yeah. And it has not moved us on, you know, for lots of different reasons. Because let's just go into this. This is the 32nd place we've been in 5 months. Yeah. 32 places. Yep. We've been in 5 months. And we knew a while back that, okay, the Airbnb thing is coming to an end just because of the price. Yeah. I mean, we're coming once we hit a certain point, it was like, wow, even throughout the week these things are crazy expensive because I guess people are going to start taking vacations or whatever. Yeah. I don't know what the logistics are of it, but it just became really expensive. It was almost like weekend prices throughout the week. Yeah. And I'm like, well, that's done. Yeah. We're not paying $200 a night to stay somewhere. Yeah. Like, that's just insanity. Not on what we make or what we get. You know what I mean? It's just like, you want to be good stewards of anything that God gives you. Whether it's like $17 or $17 million. You know what I'm saying? You want to be good stewards of it. Yeah. You don't want to just spend it on stuff that's not necessary. Although God will give you the desires of your heart. We'll talk about that on another video. But anyway, we just feel like the Lord's just kind of been hovering here. And we're like, Lord, what is going on? There is so much going on here. Yeah. You know, like, man, it's just, and God's just been sharing his heart with us here. Yeah. Well, it really felt like, you know, I'm trying to like cut into all the meaty parts of what we've been getting, right? And I read up on the number 32. I was like, well, what about the number 32? Because everything that we've been feeling and sensing from the Lord, even before we got here from our last place, we've been feeling like, man, God's been talking about sign, and everything, you know what I mean? And we did those videos about, you know, the 144th Kentucky Derby, and just all that stuff was just like, we were getting 3 and 4 confirmations that something about the sign, right? And you will see the sign, and the sign will actually be the promise fulfilled. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And I felt like the Lord said to me, or just put it on my heart, there's like, the next place we're going after this is the 33rd place is going to be the sign. Mm-hmm. And the sign is going to be the promise fulfilled. And I'm not surprised that we're staying here. The fact that we're staying here and the cloud is just hovering here, to me, is just even further proof and further confirmation that, like, wow, I might actually be hearing the Lord accurately this time. As far as like the timing of things, because that is a timing thing. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And so I looked up the definition of 32, and I was doing all my studies of it. And basically it takes 2 Hebrew words, lamed and bet, which is also the equivalent of 30 and the number 2. And you put those together and it means heart. Mm-hmm. And more like, and another word that's closely related to that is the Father's heart. Yeah. And so 32 has everything to do with covenant. Yeah. The covenant of just, you know, sharing, God sharing his heart. And that's what you do in a covenant. You're like, hey, this is what I'm giving to you. And okay, well, God, this is what we're going to give to you. We're going to give you everything. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so we just been feeling that, right? Yeah. And just it's that sense of. And really, like, that's what God has been doing, especially in the last few days. It's like, I'm giving you my heart. I'm giving you my heart because you've given me your heart. Yeah. And there really is this deeper, just, I think, revelation of who God is and knowing him. And we've been, I was reminded again with the 22s, Genesis chapter 22 is talking about Abraham
taking his son Isaac to be sacrificed. And we actually, our daughter, she led God Time today, and she did that.
She did that one.
Abraham being tested story.
It's
and we
a
watched
Superbook cartoon episode, about the test. And it's about Abraham taking Isaac. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Even if we try to get our kids to lead, God's like, okay, that's cool. I'm just going to go ahead and use them to speak what I'm telling you. So I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
So then we were just kind of talking about it, and I really do believe like God is saying like, we have done that. He's been testing us. He's like, are you willing to lay down your life, what your desires, what you believe, even that he's called us to do, such as writing, like putting down the writing. It's like, no, this is not the season or time for that. Yes, I've called you to that. Not yet. And
I did write a book.
Yeah.
And I actually started writing another book, but then the Lord was like, okay, let's be done with that for now.
Yeah.
And I was like, but Lord, I've only done 9 chapters. I've been smoking at this book. What? Yeah. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I will let go.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense. Kind of like Abraham sacrificing Isaac, but on a very, very much smaller scale for me, obviously.
Yeah.
But it was like, why would you have me start a book and then I'm done?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, are you going to give that to me or not? I'm like, yes. I mean, it wasn't even a matter of like, give me the whoopee. It wasn't. I was just like, all right, if you want to.
But I just feel like really God's been speaking to like, okay, you have laid down your life and you have said you want it to be a sacrifice. And I really think that, yesterday, like we said in our video, was the 5th month that we've been here.
Yeah.
And I believe
to the minute.
And I believe
that was amazing.
It's almost as if, like, I was just thinking about, it's almost as if it's like, okay, you've finished that test. You've finished. I know that you and your family have my heart, and so now I'm sharing the covenant with you. Because after the test, like, again, God had already promised Abraham. He already talked about the covenant he had made with Abraham. You're going to be a great nation and all of this. And then he was still tested years later. I mean, he received the promise. He is tested many years later with having to sacrifice Isaac. But then afterwards, God again is like, wow, because you've done this, I'm establishing like this amazing and great covenant. And he goes further in saying that the seed, Jesus, is going to come from Abraham.
Yeah.
And so I just think like in a lot of ways, God's like, he's already given us the promise before us. He's already established with us many times of like, this is the covenant that he's been speaking to. But now it's even more. Like, I feel like we've just received so much more of, what God has.
We're getting loaded up.
Yeah, what he's establishing for us and our family here in Nashville. And so it reminds me of that. I think it's similar of like, hey, because you guys have been willing to do this, again, I'm speaking to the covenant that I already made with you, but I'm adding to it.
Let me see. I'm going back a little bit, but God has been taking us through all of 2017. God has taken us through this covenant thing. Every once in a while, he will visit it. In fact, I think this is the 3rd time he's visited it. The first time, what was the first time? Was that in October?
No, in August.
In August. That's where God initiated the whole covenant thing. And he was just like, I want to... Basically, he was talking about, I want to marry you. And basically, he was saying, I want to actually get out of the... obviously, I don't want to do the servant-master relationship. But I even want to take it even deeper into beyond the father-son relationship. I want to take it into a depth of a husband-wife relationship. And he started that with us, right?
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, well, we're going to... For me, you can understand as a man how that was a little weird. I'm like, okay, whatever. I know that God's not weird like that. Just whatever he's doing, it's going to be good. And it really just means deeper intimacy with the Lord. I'm on board. I'm all in. Count me in. Sign me up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then God led us to start reading, what is it, the Song of Solomon, right?
Yeah.
And there was all of that.
Yeah.
And then I saw that wreath of wings It was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. It was like a great big ring of wings, but that's all they were. They were like dove wings, like they were all tied together, you know? And then there came, what is it, October?
October 4th.
October, those wings came down. He visited that part again. So it was like we had that, and then it just left and we moved on to something else. And then in October, it was on October 4th, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was like God was doing another thing with us, where the wreath of wings came down upon us and like tied us together. Yeah, it was like the wings just came down. It was a big old thing, and then it came down, and then it just kind of like squeezed in on us. It was like, I'm binding you with the covenant now. And it was almost like a marriage ceremony. It really was. It was weird and awesome at the same time. And so we felt like the Lord was saying, like, the next thing is, I'm going to, you know, it's almost like this part that we've been going through right now, these 5 months and everything after that and all that, has been kind of like the honeymoon journey. You know what I mean? It's kind of been like it's like all the stuff that happens between when you say, I do, yay, and before you get to the hotel room, holla. No, I'm just kidding. No, but you go to your honeymoon, right? But then after your honeymoon, you go to your home. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying that this has been a honeymoon type of experience, but I'm saying as far as like a succession of events and, well, what happens next? Okay, well then what happens next? Okay, you see what I'm saying? And so I feel like, and then the Lord told us back then, like, the next thing that's going to happen is I'm just going to carry you across the threshold into your home. Yeah. You know?
So we were talking after the video, and I was just kind of like, all right, I just want to say what I was thinking about just like the picture of marriage, because I'm like, this time really hasn't been like a honeymoon the way that you think of it. So I was just saying, like, really in August when God...
And I agree.
When God first came to us, it would be as if, you know, you've been dating somebody and you get to this point where you're just like, hey, you know what? I think this should be, like, we should pursue marriage.
Like, take it to the next level.
Take it to the next level. Right. And then October came, and that really was more of like the actual engagement. Like, okay, we are, you know, we're getting married.
We're betrothed.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I feel like it was like God's like, okay, yes, that's that sealing, you know, like got the ring around the finger saying, yes, we are committed to each other and we're going to get married. And so really it's been like that journey ever since, but we're really at the point of getting the marriage of, you know, like the idea of marriage, you know, you get married, you have a party, it's awesome, you have the honeymoon, and there is the carrying across the threshold.
Yeah.
And that's really at the point that we're at. And I feel like that personally is more accurate to what we've experienced during this whole time. So,
yeah, because I really wasn't sold on my idea. Yeah. I just knew there were sections of the time, and I was just putting my own little markers on them, but just yeah, because I was like, I would not call this honeymoon time.
Yeah, I'm like, this is not a honeymoon.
We totally skipped the honeymoon. In my version, we totally skipped it.
Like, what kind of honeymoon is that? That's like your worst nightmare honeymoon. No, not quite. I'm just kidding. But just that it's been very, very hard, but through it all, there's been a lot of growth. And so I just believe like we really are at the point where it, again, you can compare it to a bride getting ready to get married, and then, you know, once they're married, they get to go into their home, into their life. So hope that helps.
And so here we are now again for the third time God is speaking to us again about covenant, and the fact that this is the 32nd place we've been in, and the 32nd place we've been in is room 222. And just so many things, and it's like have been pointing to, like, man, we really are getting ready to step into something, you know, and we entered that end zone time. It's like, well, if we're in the end zone, what kind of things are happening in the end zone of this story of our life? Well, stuff like this, where God's again brought up for the third time this covenant thing, and it's like, it is time to carry you across the threshold. And I'm just like, wow, like, I'm amazed, you know?
So kind of going along just with this idea that God, he's definitely like a marriage, you know, getting ready, getting dressed. And it's kind of funny because where we're staying, their like little slogan is rested, set, go. And I saw that probably, I don't know, earlier in the week. And I was just like, wow, I really feel like this, you know, this place has been, because we're still staying here, it's really been probably the longest we've stayed in any place since we've come to Nashville or close to it.
Yeah.
It's like there's a little bit of a feeling more rested because it's not the constant moving. And then, but I felt like God kind of allowed me personally to get some rest. And then it is like we're in the set. That's really where we're at right now. There's this set, like the whole getting on the garments. That's like a getting ready, getting set.
Reminding of the covenant.
Reminding of the
all
covenant.
Of these things. It's like, and again, it goes back to that whole we're in the wilderness and we have all these things that we're holding on to before God reaches out his hand and sends us out of the wilderness like an arrow.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's,
it's like, these are the things we're receiving. It's like, whoa, we're getting set.
Yeah. and I guess that's what it feels like. We've been receiving so much, which I think is why, like, even doing this video, it's like, oh my gosh, like, how do we really say everything that God's been giving us? Because
we're doing good so far.
It's just been so much. And because I feel like he's setting us, he's filling us up with so many things.
So again, there's so many things that we've been receiving that have shown us that, like, okay, like even the rested, set, go. It's like, well, what happens after you get set? You go. You know, and it's like, because you can't be resting forever and doing nothing, and you can't be getting prepared all the time for nothing. What are you preparing for? It's like,
it's no different than a race. It's like you say, ready, set,
and then you go.
You can't just stay in the set forever.
Yeah. And what do I mean by God sending us out of the wilderness? Because there's so many people that keep coming to our channel. We just have to keep saying these things over and over again, and I'm okay saying it. But we had a vision, or I got a vision back when we lived in Kansas City, way before we moved here, of us being in the wilderness, and there was a bunch of us actually, and we were all running around Jesus, and Jesus was in the center, and we were running around him, and we were running around him so fast that we created this vortex of a movement, right? And you couldn't even see us. We were going so fast. The only thing you could see was Jesus. Come on now. That's the Christian life of a humble heart who seeks the Lord. You don't want to be seen. You just want Jesus to be seen. You want him to be glorified. And he was just standing in the middle. He was just having fun. You know, he was just like, yeah, I love this. All these people, our lives are revolved around him.
Yeah.
Too many times we want Jesus to revolve around us. And then we get mad when we don't get what we want or something like that. It's just like, no, that's not how it works. You have to revolve your life around Jesus. And he was so pleased with it. And so he was like reaching out his hand and toward the vortex. And he just reached out his hand toward it. He didn't actually touch it. And wherever he reached out his hand, that group of people or that person, they would launch out from the vortex way out of the wilderness. I mean, like, and it was like shooting an arrow. How you just release that arrow and it just goes out of sight like that. It's instantaneous. It's sudden. It speaks to the suddenlies.
Yeah.
And so again, it speaks the whole ready, rested, set, go. It speaks to that. Like that is the next thing. All right, let's go. Let's cross the threshold. Let's go into the promised land. Let's go into the next thing that God has for us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like and a little side note is I've been getting the number 221 like crazy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been crazy in crazy ways. And the number 944, and the number 944 speaks to the end. That's all that number's ever meant to us. And I'm going to tell you something right now, guys. It's 221. Did you notice that?
I didn't.
I'm talking about getting 221, and it's literally 221. Unbelievable.
That's crazy.
So I was in the shower today, and I was asking the Lord, I was like, Lord, can you just tell me what it means? Because, you know, I really don't want to be messing this up. Because we've been getting so many numbers. I feel saturated with numbers. You know how like when you stay in the water too long, your fingers get all raisinish?
Yeah.
That's what I feel. I feel like we've been raisinified. Is that a word? I just made it up. We've been raisined with numbers, you know. I'm just like, wow. It's like, and a lot of times I don't always like to talk about the numbers too much because I don't want to discredit God or make us seem weird. But you know what? I got to let myself decrease and let him increase. And if this is what he's saying, this is what he's saying. And, you know, people can discern for themselves, you know. We're not responsible for other people's discernment. And I'm like, Lord, why are we getting the number 221? I mean, are you demoting us? Because we were getting 222. Are we failing or something? I say that jokingly, but there is a little leaven of truth in that. I'm like, what happened? Yeah. And I just felt like the Lord was like saying, you're going into the Psalm 21 life. And again, there's that go into. And I'm just like, okay, well, Lord, can you just make it clear for me? And so I went and I studied the word, or the number 2, which is bet in, it looks like Beth in English, but it's actually pronounced bet in Hebrew. And it means house, or it means tent, house. That's what it generally means, you know, Bethlehem. That means something about the house, and Bethel means something about the house. But it also can mean in or into. Huh. And so I was like, wow. And I was like, could it really be that simple? And God's like, yeah, it's that simple. You know, it's like you're going into the Psalm 21 lifestyle. So into Psalm 21. And I went and I read Psalm 21, and I was like, wow. And it says, I'm going to go ahead and read it for you since we're going there. Now I'm just going to do the first 2 verses. Okay, I read the whole thing, but I really felt like the Lord was highlighting these first 2 verses. It says, the King David shall joy in your strength. Joy. What did Michelle say was next? She got this word from the Lord. She was like, joy is what's next. So, the king shall joy in your strength, O Lord, and in your salvation, how greatly shall he rejoice. Now that right there is 2 words that you received. Remember, you received salvation? Like, who are you in our situation? You asked him that while we were here in 2:22, and he's like, I'm your salvation. So it's like, wow. And now he's going to give a reason to why he's going to have joy. He says, you have given him his heart's desire and have not withheld the request of his lips. Selah. So it's like, again, God's saying that is what is next. That is what you're going to go. You rested. I'm setting you up, and I'm just putting all this stuff in your heart for you to believe and have faith. You know? And then you're going to go into it. You're going into that. Your heart's desire, the fulfillment of that. That is what is next, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of very much also like a graduation ceremony. Because usually at graduation ceremonies, they have a lot of speakers that come up. And a lot of them are trying to impart wisdom to you before you go.
I am so glad I married you. You're the most amazing human being on the planet. I love you so much. Continue.
So it's just like, you know, we really are just
That's so awesome.
It's like we're sitting there and
they're all like, all these things are happening are like commencement speeches.
It really is. It's like, here, let me give you a, you know, you have somebody come up and they speak about, you know, hey, you know, in this part of your life, this is how you know, wisdom basically is usually what they're trying to give you when it comes to commencement speeches. And also just like kind of a, hey, look at all that you've accomplished. And I really feel like God has done that.
Let's just reminisce or remember.
And I feel like God's kind of done that.
That's where it is.
Hey, look at what I've done in your heart and in your life and all of that. And it's like when all of that's finished, that's when they start calling the names and they bring them up on stage.
And you did that video. He's calling names.
And that was back in September. But I believe like, and honestly, the calling of names, that was a, hey, like, you're getting ready to go, you know, you're receiving the instructions of like, all right, this is, here you go, and then you can go, and so it's kind of like we really are in a time where God is just loading us up with His wisdom and His truth and His heart.
Good picture.
And so it's like, yes, we are right there. We are at the doors. We are so
That was the first word He gave me when we got here. You were at the doors. Well, no, go ahead.
No, what were you saying?
I interrupt enough. You need to just go ahead and go. They're saying, yes, amen, go ahead. We hear from him enough.
Well, I just wanted to make sure you were going to do more of what you were already talking about.
Oh yeah, well I wanted to talk about just one little other thing, like when you study the number 21 even. Yeah. You're actually, when you study the 21 is a transitional number. You're going out of one thing into another. It's actually the number for distress. You're either going into distress or you're leaving distress. But normally it's like a leaving of distress, like 21 years of this and 21 whatever. You're actually going out of one thing into another thing. So even that number itself is like you're going into something, but you're going into the promise and you're coming out of distress, because it is distressing moving from place to place to place. That's why this has kind of been a resting time for us, because we're not like, oh gosh, here we are, we have to move again. How much money? We need another miracle. We need another miraculous human being to be touched and to give us some money and all that stuff. And it's like, what are we gonna do? And it's like we don't really have that right now. It's been a little bit more easier because we don't have to keep shelling out money for this thing or that thing. It's like super cheap to stay here. Yeah, you know, it is. It just is.
And not just not having that. Having to pack everything up, where you literally spend an entire day of just getting.
Moving days are stressful.
But that last one wasn't.
Yeah. And that's funny. That last one was not.
It wasn't.
It was totally
literally
different now.
The first time. It was not stressful.
It was almost like a sign of like, okay, this is what you're getting ready to go into.
And it was also like that. I came in. We had that on the video where it's like, hey, we should make a vlog about the next time we move, and we haven't moved since then. So,
well, family vlogs are on hold. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say about the 21.
Yeah, you know, so I just wanted to, I guess, briefly touch on, it was the 11/11, because it was just really awesome, and I feel like it does fit into what we're talking about. And we saw 11/11. We've been seeing it a lot, but it was like, now what does that mean again? Because sometimes you see a lot of numbers and you just, I think you're used to seeing them, but you don't remember exactly what it was, but you're not necessarily...
Sometimes you see a number and it's not, you see a number and you have history with that number, but it's not something that the Holy Spirit's going, hey, hey, you know.
So we were reading up last night on the 11/11s, and so John 11:11 talks about...
Do you want me to read them?
Yeah.
If you make it this far, praise the Lord.
Yeah, you're amazing.
You can be blessed. You know, get what you need from it. You know. So John 11:11.
Yeah.
He said these things and then added, "Our friend Lazarus is at rest and sleeping, but I am going there that I may awaken him out of his sleep."
So you can almost think of that. He's rested and he's set. He's set in his place.
Yeah, and he's in grave clothes. He dead.
And Jesus is coming to wake him up, to send him out of the place that he's in. And
wow, I did not see that coming. Didn't we talk about this?
I thought we did.
Wow, new revelation for me.
and then we looked up Hosea 11:11.
They shall come trembling but hurriedly like a bird out of Egypt, and like a dove out of the land of Assyria. And I will cause them to dwell in their houses, says the Lord.
So again, here God is speaking about coming out. Assyria would be like Babylon, and the 70 years of captivity.
Yeah.
And so
we made videos about that, about how God's bringing all of his people out of a religious church captivity mindset and reality.
So it's, we're just coming out of captivity. And I just thought it was interesting that, it was a picture of a bird, like a dove. And so that also just kind of all plays into it.
Well, because it touches on that, it touches on that White Dove Ministries video about the dove and the eagle. Do you want to touch on the 122 real quick?
Yeah.
The Genesis 122?
Yeah, so we've been seeing a lot of 122.
Oh my gosh, you guys, like you would not believe.
And
we're like, Lord,
what?
You're turning us into numerical raisins. Seriously, man, I don't know if we can handle it, but keep it coming.
So Genesis 122, and this is God speaking to
us,
basically, like the birds.
The birds.
Yeah, which we thought is hilarious.
Listen to this. And God bless. We're like, because I read it last night and I was like, that's not for us. But there's a part of me that's like, I feel like it is. Why? But you're talking to birds here. Like, you're not talking to people. You're talking to birds.
Yeah.
You're giving them basically the same blessing that you gave Adam and Eve, but you're talking to birds. What's the deal? And it said, and God blessed them, saying, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the fowl multiply in the earth. Oh, he's talking about the fishes and the birds.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what? But I really felt like, and let the fowl multiply in the earth. That part really jumped out to me.
Which goes back to, there'll be like doves coming out of Assyria. And let me just tell you, for me, that's huge, because way back, like, I don't know how many years ago, but a long time ago.
Before we ever met.
Probably at least 12, maybe 12 to 13 years ago. God gave me this vision of being a dove resting on his shoulders and flying to other bird cages and just saying what God had spoken, and they were being released from their cages. And again, it was pictures of birds and doves, and it's like, wow, Lord, you are again speaking to who you've created me to be and Devin to be, and just who we are right now in the earth.
See, and that eagle and that dove is important, because the dove represents the spirit in which you come in.
Yeah.
But the eagle represents the prophetic word.
And the
prophetic. See, there's a lot of prophetic stuff going on right now that's just eagle. And it's coming with its talons, and it's just ripping people apart.
Yeah.
It's tearing people up, because there's no Spirit of God in it. I know that sounds weird, to be prophetic and not have the Spirit of God, when prophecy is kind of a Spirit-led type thing. Well, a lot of times you can have a gift of prophecy, and you can discern things, and you can see things, but the way you handle it is in the flesh. You're handling according to your own understanding and your own reasoning, and you're just like, and you're just causing damage and ruin and destruction and devastation. You're pulling down and you're tearing down, but you're not building up. And then some of the things that you are building, or some of the things that you are tearing down, are things that God built up in the person. And you're tearing that, you're just tearing stuff down. You know, and God's like, no. That's why with that White Dove Ministries thing, it was so like, yes, that is God. Because you got to come with the mercy. You got to come with the heart of God, the kindness and the love. But naturally, it's going to come with the truth as well. But you have to have both. You know, so it's like, God, you doing this bird thing right now, you know, with the White Dove Ministries thing, our daughter's vision.
Well, and even just back in February, the sign was an eagle.
Yeah,
you know, and it's like...
So it's like
all fits in.
Yeah, and it's like God is speaking this thing, and it fits into the rested, set, go, because he's setting these things on our heart. He's setting these things in us to say, hey, this is really what I'm saying. I'm not going to say it to you once or twice. I'm saying this to you 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times.
Yeah.
So you know, so it gets set in you, and that this is what I'm speaking. Yeah. So this is what I'm speaking to you. I mean, I could share some other stuff with you guys that would be like, wow, that's amazing, but we just don't have time for it.
Yeah.
So then we go to
Isaiah
11:11 says, and in that day, the Lord shall again lift up his hand a second time to recover, acquire, and deliver the remnant of his people, which is left from Assyria, from Lower Egypt, from all these other places, but basically where all these other places of captivity where Israel was spread to captivity.
And
you want me to keep reading it a little bit?
No, that's good.
Okay.
But just, again, speaking that the Lord is coming for his remnant. And that's really who God has, he's selected just this group of people, this remnant that he has been speaking to, that there's a group of us that have been going through what we've been going through, and it's that remnant that I believe is going through the doors, you know, when he opens them.
That's why it was kind of a small line of people.
Yeah.
It was a big line. I mean, it was a lot of people, but in contrast, it was just like, man, it was almost like a graduating class. It was just like one group of people that were going through, but would eventually lead others to that place. Come on through the door. Come on through the door of the kingdom, into the heart of God, into mercy. You know, we're going to take what God has given to us, and now we're going to give it to you. Yeah. It cost us a lot, but we're going to give it to you freely.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go through all that we went through. That's kind of what it is for fathers and children. You go through and you pioneer, like what we're doing for our family has not been done for us.
Yeah.
You know, we're going through and we're pioneering this thing so that our children don't have to go through the pioneering part of it.
Yeah.
They can just inherit it. Yeah. Like what Jesus did on the cross. We don't have to go and die on the cross. Jesus already did that. Now we just inherit salvation.
Yeah.
It's a free thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
By the mercy.
So, that's really just kind of what I was really excited about really going into the 11/11s last night. Because again, it's speaking to, we really are just at the very end. We are standing before the doors. God is just setting us in place. He is just, He is setting us up. He's getting everything, just piling it on so that when He extends His hands, we can just go. And that really is the next thing. The next thing is go. Can we say when it is? No. But I just know, we just trust the Lord. Everything is perfect in His timing and His plan and His ways.
Yeah.
And it's going to be glorious. But I do believe, though, it's not... I feel like it's just been going really quickly. It's not going to be something that's like, 7 months down the road, we're still waiting to go. You know, it really isn't that. The getting ready part, if you're thinking ready, set, go, getting ready, getting prepared for a race is the longest part of the process. You get set, maybe your coach is just giving you those final instructions, like, all right, remember this, this is, do this, but once you go, it's just boom, you're going. And it's like with this journey, the getting us prepared has been a long process. It has been a journey, and God had to be
that started before 2017.
Oh gosh, yeah, that started
before 2017.
Yeah.
Like early, summer of 2016.
Yeah,
I'd say.
Yeah, even 2015 for me personally.
Well, for you personally, but I'm saying this thing that we're doing, this journey that we've been on.
Oh yeah. That started
starting with it started with man, I think we should have a baby.
Yeah.
I think the Lord is saying we need to have another baby.
Yeah, and that was...
This is weird.
Yeah.
I think that was the beginning.
Yeah, and that was in 2016.
Us,
But it's just, I don't know. I believe it is like, yes, we are getting set, and it's going to be go time very soon. And
because we crossed into the end zone. This is the end zone. Things are going to end.
Yeah.
See, we were in the end game.
And that was a lot longer than we thought it would be.
Yeah, but now we're in the... and again, the Lord showed me the end game can last a long time, But once you enter into the end zone and the game's over, it's not much longer after that.
Yeah.
Before you, okay, yay, we celebrate, we're in the end zone. That was that point in time where we entered into a rest.
Yeah.
A rest time, And there was a very short time of just rested. And then we went to that sleep-in motel. The sleep-in hotel, that was the hotel we were in before this. It was totally just a rest time. And that's when we started getting all those signs and visions about what's going to happen. And we got the 210s like crazy.
Yeah.
And then the night before we came here, we got the 222s. That was our rested time, And then since we've been here, I feel like that's been our set time.
Yeah. It's like, hey, you're standing before the doors, and we're just going through.
Yeah. So after, from here to... the promise, which is the 33rd place we will be, that's going to be what we're going into. The doors are going to blow open, and that's what it's going to carry us into.
Yeah.
Into that. So it's like there's just so many things that God is saying so that we don't miss it. A lot of times we're afraid we're going to miss it, but there's so many things that God is saying that's just pointing to these same simple little things that He's saying.
Yeah.
But there's just a bunch of things that He's also saying to point to the things He's saying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to say, hey, man, this is what I'm really saying. I really mean this.
Yeah.
So
that's just, I think, what we have for you today. I know it was
I think
a
that's
lot. But we just pray that you guys are encouraged by it, and that God is just blessing you in your life. Just be looking for how God is getting you set in place, and just the things that He's giving to you, and kind of just loading you up with, and the wisdom and greatness of Him.
Yes, and we thank you guys so much. We can't do a video without thanking you guys for your continued support.
Yes.
We never know when we're going to get something in our PayPal, and sometimes we wake up, we go 2 days, and we're like, well, whatever, Lord, you are taking care of us. You've clearly taken care of us for 5 months, thanks to what you told us to do through the PayPal. Thank you. But it's also a thanks to you guys for being willing to hear and listen. Yeah. Some of you guys have heard from the Lord some things, and you just like, all right, I'll give that to Him, and you did, and it's like it was exactly what we needed.
Yeah.
I mean, literally exactly what we needed. It was like, wow, only God, from the giver and the receiver, praise be to God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So thank you guys so much for like just
everything.
Being used of God to bless us, and I just want to encourage you guys that there is a bigger picture at work when you give to us.
Yeah.
There really is. There's a bigger picture at work. It's not just helping one family to sustain itself.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe we'll make an entire video on that one time about, man, there's just a bigger picture. Whenever you're doing something, you know, it's like the butterfly effect. You know, when you go and you're at the gas station and you feel like the Lord's saying, hey, you need to go tell this person that, hey, they're a good father. They're doing great. That could change their entire life.
Yeah.
Just that one word. You just gave a little encouragement. You felt like the Lord was giving. You literally changed the life of that entire family. And you may never know that until you get to heaven.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a bigger picture going on, you know.
Yeah.
And we just want you guys to be encouraged that you guys are blessing us, but you're blessed. You're a part of a bigger picture.
You really have been the hand of God carrying us, so He can plant us, and we just.
Because it was time for us to be carried.
It really was, and we
can't not do that.
So appreciate all of you, and we just pray that God would just bless your lives.
Yeah.
And so until next time,
love you guys.
See you later.
See you later.
Bye.